Good morning, Dustin Hanson, Street Operations Manager with the City of Sioux Falls Public Works Department. I think there's a song out there that says, "Here we go again." So it's been a rough winter. We continue to fight through it. This one's no exception. It could be pretty rough as we get towards the end of the week here. Our plow operators have been out since yesterday. They're back on their 12-hour shifts, so we'll run 24-hour shifts until we get this event cleaned up. Likely be working through Sunday and potentially into next week on these 12-hour shifts. So right now they're focused on the emergency routes, and that's our main priority, and they'll stay on those emergency routes until it stops snowing and until we can clean those out. This could be a long duration. We're hoping we will call a snow alert today, but it might be some time before we get into those residential streets just because of some of the drifting on those emergency routes. As of right now, they're looking pretty decent, but we've got some heavy snowfall coming in here in the next couple hours. Something we want to introduce during this event is our new snow tracker map. We've always had a map to kind of keep track of which zones we've completed. This will be more real-time. It's not exact real-time. It's about a 1 to 2 hour delay. As you can see, the different zones across the city, Zone 1 is downtown, Zone 2 is the core, Zone 3 is the rest of the city. We actually utilize our automatic vehicle locators that are on our snow plows and our motor graders to pull that data in to actually see what they've completed. So if your street is red, it hasn't, no snow plow or motor grader has been down that. If it's yellow, then it's in process. So that piece of equipment is either made a 1 or 2 passes on there. Once they make 4 passes, that'll turn green and it'll be completed. So it'll be a nice map for the citizens to go on there and check to see when their streets, if they have been done or when they will be done. So it's be a nice interactive map for the citizens. And a big shout out to our civics analytics team that worked very closely with the street division and our fleet division to make this happen. This is new, so there's probably going to be a few quirks in it. We've beta tested it during the last event, and it worked fairly well. So we just wanted to make sure that we say that. Of course, we've had a lot of snow this year. We've hauled over 20,000 loads out of the city on emergency routes, on residential streets. We hope with the warmer temps and spring right around the corner that we won't have to haul as much this go around. But that could be a possibility that we continue to haul snow. Just some good notes, obviously, with any kind of event, we always want to be a good neighbor. Help your neighbors out, get those fire hydrants cleaned out, driveways, sidewalks. 48-hour rule still is in place for sidewalks once it stops snowing. And a big thing is do not put the snow in the street. Don't blow it in there. Don't shovel it in there. Don't push it into the street, whether you have a residence or a property. It's just going to come right back into the boulevard, and it just takes our team more time to push that snow off those streets. And of course, potholes. Our teams have worked very hard on potholes. It's been a rough winter for potholes. As soon as we're done with snow, our teams are right back on potholes, patching those. We're probably well over 1,000 requests this year, but that's pretty normal when we get in rough winters, a lot of moisture, but we'll be back on those once we get the streets cleared. With that, I will turn it over to Andy Berg.
All right, Andy Berg, City Engineer, Public Works. As Dustin mentioned, those same crews that are doing the snow removal, the pothole patching, they also do the storm drains, clearing those storm drains. As we end February here and begin March, the temperature swings can be pretty significant. So we can see those melting events and even potential rain events starting up sooner than later. So clearing those storm drains is an important part of the snow removal process right now. Our crews have been clearing those drains in the low areas where we can see significant ponding if they're blocked up. So they will continue to do that as our snow removal operations start to pull back. The melting that does occur, those drains, they're difficult to find. Obviously, our civic analytics team not only has done the snow tracking map, they've also got a parcel finder map out on SiouxFalls.org that has the storm drain layer automatically turned on for folks. So when they go out there, there'll be a screen that pops up how to easily locate those. We hope folks will be able to use that, go out to that website. There's a blue circle with a little raindrop on it, and so folks can go out, type your address in, find those storm drains in front of your house or just in your neighborhood. You know, be a good neighbor, try and help folks out. The more of those that people can clear out themselves, the better it is when that first melt comes. Our crews obviously are continuing to clear those as we're able through the work orders that we receive, but if anybody can get out and clear those, especially the ones that have already been cleared, this new fresh snow, get that back out of there before it has a chance to harden up. So we greatly appreciate that. If you're unable to clear it because it's iced in, that type of thing, certainly report it through the Sioux Falls app or on this same map. If you click one of those blue dots, there's a report here link there that'll bring you to another page. You can add any comments to that, and then you can confirm that detail, and that will submit a work order into our system as well. So if you're unable to do it with you and your neighbors, that's another option as well. We've got over 17,000 storm drains throughout the city, so our folks aren't able to get out and clear all those, and not all of them are in low areas, so they're not as critical, but water is going to pond in front of people's driveways with the snow plowing operations, that type of thing, but those low-lying areas are the most important. Those are the ones we try and focus our work orders on, and those that we'd ask folks to pay the most attention to in their neighborhoods as well. Let's see here. As you clear the snow, another thing to be aware of is just around your own houses. The snow that's piled up around houses, when we start getting into March and April, that melt happens and you can get a lot of ice dams around your own house, traps that water against your foundations, causes sump pump issues, frozen sump pump lines. We're a little early in the season, but we just saw melting last week, and so that's an important thing. Make sure water can drain away from your houses, your downspouts are clear, that type of thing as well. So with that, I believe police is up next. Thank you.
Good morning, Lieutenant Andrew Siebenborn, Siebenborn. Guessing they jinxed me when they put me up here because I'm going to talk a little bit about the roads, and being that I made it exactly probably about 11 feet to the end of my driveway before I got stuck with my squad car today, let me be the lesson about how drifting, particularly on the edges of town, can affect your route of travel. So I did appreciate and sold myself out online on our social media page, let everyone see me stuck, and I appreciate everyone telling me how cool my police car looks with the dark color, but it doesn't look that cool when it's stuck in a snowdrift. So, but no, yeah, so don't be like me and get stuck in those drifts. And that really brings me to the point as far as with this storm, if you look outside the window, it doesn't necessarily look super bad in town, but I can tell you on the edges of town with the blowing and the drifting, it is pretty, visibility's down, drifting's bad, but we really aren't even into the bad part of the storm that's coming up, and we expect it to get a lot worse with higher winds and actual higher snowfall amounts. So I'd really encourage the motoring public, unless you legitimately have a need to be out traveling, to stay home and bunker there if you can. It's not worth the risk to yourself, and if you do get stuck, obviously someone has to come get you, and it's difficult times for responders to get around, and even for the tow truck drivers if you had to get towed out to be operating in these conditions. So really reevaluate, you know, if it's a true need that you need to be out and about on with the next couple of days. As Dustin mentioned, there will be a snow alert that will be called at some point today, and with that snow alert, you need to pay particular attention to where you're parked at and what we're doing, because we, you know, generally speaking, we usually focus on the emergency snow routes. The reason they're, you know, identified as emergency snow routes is they've been deemed critical routes of travel. With those routes, once that snow alert's called, if you're parked on that route, you are subject to immediate ticketing and towing. I can assure you, like the police department, we don't take great joy in towing cars by by any means. We recognize there is a cost involved for people to get their car out. But the reason we do have to do that, particularly during these snow emergencies, is that way it allows critical pieces of equipment, first responders, to make sure that they're able to get to the places that they need to be should someone have an emergency. So please make sure that you stay abreast as far as with that snow alert. And one of the best ways to do that is you can follow www.siouxfalls.org/snow, and that'll give you updates as far as the snow alert, and then it'll also give you information on where you can sign up for text alerts during that time. If you are out and about, make sure you've got, your emergency essentials with you. If you've got a small shovel, just in case you do get stuck, make sure you're dressed for the weather if you do get stuck. Have a coat, gloves, hat, all that good stuff, a fully charged snow or cell phone, and just be prepared. I mean, obviously, if you're in the city, you have a little bit more stuff at your luxury, but if you're traveling outside the city and you get stuck, you could be there for a long duration of time. So again, just evaluate whether you really need to make that route, and then also, as always, wear your seatbelt. With it getting slick, the wind blowing, there's going to be more slide-ins and potential to go off the road. With all this, there are several city closures, and I'll just list them. Sioux Area Metro, it's closed. The Midco Aquatic Center and all the community centers and leagues are closed. Falls Community Health clinics at Hayward, Hawthorne, and Terry Redland are closed. And then tomorrow on Thursday, currently the Midco Aquatic Center and Falls Community Health clinics at the schools will all be closed as well. Several of the library branches are closed as well as all the ones out, or a majority of the ones outside of Sioux Falls, to include Baltic, Brandon, Crooks, Garrettson, and Humboldt. All those branches are closed, along with the Oakview Library branch within the city of Sioux Falls. And then just one point of note, one of the biggest complaints that came through during the last snow alert, even after the plows had gone through, because there was so much snow that they were trying to remove, and now we still have some of that snow left and we're removing more snow, is even when the plows had made passes, streets were still pretty narrow. And then you'd get people who would park on both sides of the street, and when you would do that, it would essentially make the street impassable or nearly impassable. And we get complaints, and technically because the route had been plowed, it wasn't necessarily where anyone was parked illegally or really anything we could do about it. What I would tell you is if the street's been plowed and it is narrow, to either try to focus on parking on just one side of the roadway to still allow that route of travel, or try not to park on the side of the road directly across from another vehicle, so you don't cause that the extreme narrowing of that roadway. But again, we just wish everyone to be safe. Knock on wood, so far this morning it had been pretty decent, and look at the traffic. We've had plenty of notice on this, so it appears that a lot of people have made necessary preparations and stuff, and we just ask that you continue and again be good neighbors to yourself, and if you do need assistance, please make sure that you reach out. That's all I have. Yeah, any questions?
Andrew, is there a fine for people snow in the street?
I can't speak, to be honest, off the top of my head, I do not know if there's specifically a fine. We generally speaking, we try to, oftentimes, some people might not know, use a little bit of an education component of it. As Dustin mentioned, though, it does really, make the street department have to work a lot harder. And like I said, we recognize there's a lot of snow out there, and sometimes we're running out of places to go. But try to find another spot rather than the street. And with the winds as high as they are, if you blow it in your yard, the wind's probably going to catch it and blow it into the neighbor's yard anyway for you. So I'll help you out a little bit there. Don't tell them I said you to do that. But any other questions? All right, appreciate it. Thank you.